If you're a full-time filmmaker, cinematographer, or photographer, you're probably working right now on a project for a client that could be paying your bills, but killing your soul in the process. That's why as artists, sometimes we fund our own passion projects that work as creative outlets to remind us of why we're doing this in the first place. There's nothing that can stop this creative drive except the budget. With a lot of us filmmakers barely making ends meet, it becomes pretty hard to shoot these projects without a struggle, especially that filmmaking by default requires a lot of resources which can cost a lot of money. In this episode, I'll share with you 7 tips for planning and shooting your passion projects for as low as zero budget. I'll show you real examples of my own shoots and others, and share with you all the lessons I learned while shooting them. Tip number 1. Work with what you have first, meaning, as much as possible, try to adapt your ideas to what's already freely available and accessible to you, starting from using the cameras you own, talents that could be your friends, locations that could be in your neighborhood, and so on. A perfect example of this is David Sandberg. He's a one-man band kind of a filmmaker who shot all his horror shorts using nothing but his wife as cast, his small apartment as location, and zero budget. But his films were full of passions, dedication, and creativity. They made it into a lot of film festivals till Hollywood picked one of them, called Lights Out, and asked him to turn it into a feature film. He later directed bigger films such as Annabelle Creation and Shazam. He strictly used the limited amount of resources available to him in the most creative way to become a Hollywood filmmaker. So the lesson we learned from David Sandberg is that it's not just about the complexity of the idea or the production, but it's about how you can do so much with so little. I'll leave links to his work in the description below. Tip number 2. If you run out of your own resources, then try to find creative ways to add the missing parts by begging, borrowing, and stealing. Use your network of family and friends to beg and borrow from. When I say steal, of course I'm referring to harmless acts, such as stealing a shot in locations that require permits, especially when it's not a commercial project for a client. Here's a short film I shot last winter in 3 locations: an apartment, a public park, and the streets of Brooklyn, New York. The apartment location was borrowed from one of the director's friends who generously offered it for free. Fortunately, there wasn't much begging there. The child talent here was her son as well, so that was a perfect 2 birds with 1 stone. As for the outdoor locations, not only it would have cost us hundreds of dollars to shoot in public areas, but it would have taken up to a month to issue that permit. We didn't have the budget or time, of course, so we took the risk and decided to steal the shots. Of course, when you take such risks, you need to consider Murphy's Law, which is every filmmaker's arch nemesis. Shortly after we started shooting, the park ranger spotted us, and after a lot of begging, he insisted and asked us to leave till we get the proper permit. We pretended to pack our stuff, and as he drove off, we resumed and quickly stole the shots we needed before he makes his second round. Tip number 3. Since filmmaking is mostly about collaboration, having a big network of family and friends would be the greatest asset to help you with any of your projects. As you saw in my previous example, having resourceful friends can help you find locations, talents, and anything you need for your shoots. Sometimes your friends can have special talents that would even become the subject of your project. In this film, shot almost 6 years ago for the international launch of the GH3, I asked my best friend Mo, who's an amazing basketball player, to be the lead in one of the films that will launch the camera. We had a quick camera test and ended up shooting this film over a couple of days, which turned to be one of the most fun shoots I've ever had, since I was literally spending time with my friend after all. So before scripting your project, try to find hidden gems within your inner circle of friends and family. This is where you might find inspiration for your next project. Another example is from the music video Breeze I shot recently, which I'm gonna talk about soon in a future episode. It was shot entirely at the parents' house of my friend Caroline, who became the location manager by default. This scene was shot in her room when she was living there as a teenager, for example. She even cooked for us during the lunch break, and her dad was a great host, a great payoff for having such an awesome friend. Here's a quick tip. I discovered that people who are not working in filmmaking, like my friend's dad here, are usually fascinated with what we do and would never hesitate to jump on board to help us with everything we need, just to witness the magic of filmmaking. So maybe next time you plan your shoot, your friends with office jobs could be better choices over your filmmaker colleagues. Tip number 4. Sometimes you'll use your creative talents to find non-traditional DIY solutions for challenges you'll face on set, solutions that could save you a lot of effort, time, and most of all, money. In this example, I was collaborating once more with Panasonic to shoot a short experimental film 5 years ago with the pre-production model of the GH4 to be later released during the launch of the camera. There was a scene where the two characters were chasing each other in two different locations. First, I was backtracking the girl talent. The framing was simple enough to do while I was running forward and keeping the camera facing back towards her as she was running at reasonable speed. But as I was planning the next scene with the male talent, he needed to run faster and at full speed towards the camera to express the physical struggle of his pursuit. I realized he was a pretty fast runner and would have never been able to match his speed while operating the gimbal. So the best solution I came up with that's free and has pretty fast setup time was using a shopping cart as my dolly. I managed to steal it from a store close to the location, then went to my team consisting of two of my best friends, Mo, who you already saw in the basketball video, and Ihab, who was my assistant director and key grip, and I asked them to pull the cart back as fast as they could with me in it to match the speed of the talent. Here's how the final scene looked like. Needless to say that after we wrapped the shoot, I safely returned the shopping cart to the store in perfect condition. Here's a fun fact. I often find DIY solutions to be more effective than traditional ones. Till this day, for example, I couldn't find a better solution to the shopping cart that I used 5 years ago. Sometimes, those DIY solutions could even be revolutionary to the industry. That's actually how a lot of film tools we use today were created, such as the Steadicam invented by Garrett Brown when he was trying to find a way to get smooth camera moves without the need for a dolly track. So he came up with this contraption, which consists of a harness, spring-loaded arms, and a lot of nerdy science. Then went to shoot this demo clip for his girlfriend running up the stairs at the Philadelphia Art Museum to test his new rig in 1974, which was later reviewed by director John Avildsen and inspired him to use Garrett and follow the same camera move in his upcoming movie, Rocky, which later became one of the most iconic moments in movie history. Tip number 5. Let's all remember that we get paid for what we do, so your skills and work can act as currency in exchange for things or services you need for your production. I recently wanted to test the S1H camera for my upcoming review in a fitness type of shoot. I found the perfect location for it, but it would have probably cost me a lot of money to rent it out. I noticed that their social media feed didn't have high-end or professional-looking content, which opened a great window of opportunity for a barter deal. I thought, if they allow me to shoot in their locations, and in return, I'll offer them the final work as video assets to use in their social media content. They happily accepted the deal, and it was a win-win situation. Keep in mind the deal extended to the talent I used as well. He came on board for free in exchange of using the clips in social media, which also was a perfect exposure opportunity for us all. The gym gave me the location, the talent gave me his time, and in return, I will give them the work. Another kind of barter deals could be offering your camera or gear to your fellow filmmakers to use in their productions, in return of helping you out in yours. This was also the case in the same shoots. I was offering my gear to my friend Nick to use it for free in his feature film he's shooting these days. So when I asked him to join me in this project, he didn't hesitate and came on board for free. So next time you plan your shoot, try to spot such opportunities. Offer favors to others ahead of time. This way you can get what you need by creating a mutual benefit ecosystem where you can all exchange free services. Tip number 6. In a small production setup, you will often find yourself limited to using only 3 to 4 crew members in total due to budget limitations, while if the same was in a commercial setup, you'd probably have a lot more help than that. So you should build your team from mostly multi-talented individuals, since they will have to fill the shoes of all other crew members you couldn't afford to bring on board. They will be jumping between 2 or more positions at the same time. In some of my shoots, my amazing team members were working not only behind the camera as crew, but in front of the camera as talents. Take the music video Breeze as an example. We needed a very small role of a victim that was killed by the main character, the girl. We had a limited budget to show an elaborate murder scene. Also, we didn't want it to look very graphic, so the final decision was to show the bloody murder weapon and the feet of the victim lying motionless on the ground. This way, we saved the money by avoiding to hire a face talent and instead just use a crew member to act as the feet of the victim. So I asked my producer Corey to act as the victim's feet, wearing the same bloody jeans that she will take outside and burn to hide the evidence. It's worth mentioning that my producer is also a talented comedy director and actor, and I thank him for the amazing feat performance. The other most interesting story of crew doubling as cast was in my music video Get On. The army girl featured here is in fact our makeup artist. The decision to cast her came literally on set during the first day of shooting. We already planned to have an army girl in the script, but couldn't find the right cast with a reasonable day rate for the role. So by an amazing and rare strike of luck, we all met on set during the morning of the shoot, and as the makeup artist walked in, we immediately felt she was the one. It was the first time for me to have her in any of my shoots, but that didn't prevent me or the singer Coley to ask her if she's up for it, and she was pretty cool about it. I must say, we were not only lucky finding her for the role, but she was also a special effects makeup artist, which was a perfect match, as we needed her to create a scar that runs across her face to give her this dramatic badass look. Of course, it's imperative to ask your crew members' permission if you're planning to assign them with more duties beyond their designated roles in your projects, whether it's in front or behind the camera. Then make sure that they can juggle between those tasks without compromising their main role. Tip number 7. This is about how to wisely spend your limited budget and spending it where it really matters. Even if you can get your team to work on your projects for free, I highly recommend to invest in paying a minimum symbolic fee that can be as low as $100 if you're living in the US, for example. Also, whether you decide to pay them or not, always remember they're mostly doing you a favor, whether it's out of friendship or believing in you as an artist or simply to be associated with a cool project. A simple thank you is a great start, but you should go the extra mile with those 4 simple practices. First, if you agree on a certain day rate, then pay them in cash on the day without any delays. Don't let them chase their payments like with typical clients. By implementing that system in my shoots, I built a high level of loyalty within my team, that they would rather get lower pay with me than get higher rate with any commercial client that would typically delay their payments for weeks or months. Second, feed them well. Make sure you give them a lunch break and offer them a nice warm meal of their choice rather than fast food. Third, if you're active on social media, put some effort in tagging them on your projects. Public gratitude goes a long way, and they would probably return the favor by reposting and tagging you as well, which would offer you even more exposure through their own channels. If you've noticed, I already mentioned many names of my team in this video, and I'll be tagging them and their links in the description below. Fourth and last practice is what should be the standard you live by. Being respectful, kind, and positive are the qualities and attitudes you should express in all your shoots. Treat everyone equally, no one is above the other. Remember, filmmaking is a teamwork, so be a good sport and a friendly team player. This would conclude this episode. I would truly love for you to share stories from your projects. Also, let us know if you have any other tips you want to add to this list in the comments below. Finally, I would love to thank everyone who helped me realize all my projects so I can share them with you. I feel lucky I have built a growing network of multi-talented filmmaker friends, and I hope you will build yours too. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.